We thank you for making the time to listen to the loyalty tax. Why do they get paid more? Episode number 10, a continuation of our discussion about pay envy. I found out what the new hire makes previously discussed in Episode 9, a mini-series from EAQ and Associates presenting Human Capital Intelligence audio podcast to better understand the most effective ways to maximize human capital resources and how an organization can enhance performance, engagement, productivity, and deliver desired outcomes by creating alignment between management and their employees.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine it is 8:30 a.m. on a typical Monday morning. You have been with your company for 5 years. You poured your blood, sweat, and tears into keeping things afloat during, all the recent supply chain crises.
A couple of stressful years, yeah.
Exactly. So you log into your computer, you open an internal portal, and you accidentally see the starting salary and the offer letter for the brand new hire sitting at the desk right next to you.
Ouch.
A person you are currently training, by the way. And they are making substantially more money than you, plus, and here's the kicker, a massive signing bonus.
It's a gut punch.
It really is. So if you are listening to this and feeling a deep core frustration just thinking about that scenario, you are definitely not alone.
Not at all.
We have a really fascinating stack of sources for our deep dive today. We're looking at Salary.com's 2025-2026 National Salary Budget Survey, some incredibly insightful corporate compensation white papers, and a recent transcript from the Conference Board.
Some really heavy-hitting data this time.
Yeah, and our mission today is to explore this massive value gap between new hires and tenured employees. And we want to look at how organizations are accidentally causing what is known as hidden bankruptcies.
What's fascinating here is that this is no longer just a conversation about office politics or, managing bruised egos in the break room. When we look at the hard 2026 data, this dynamic has completely escalated into a measurable financial crisis for companies.
A literal crisis.
Exactly. It's a fundamental misallocation of resources. And it actively damages an organization's operational capabilities, even if the executives even if they don't immediately see it on the balance sheet.
And to really understand the mechanics of this, we need to view it through the right framework.
Yes.
So this deep dive is heavily driven by the principles of the Human Capital Intelligence Program. And we should mention the instructor of that program, Ernest Goss, is an HR architect, he is an executive coach, and a Six Sigma black belt.
Which is quite the combination.
It really is. He's a human resources practitioner who has worked extensively with frontline employees, organized labor, managers, and executive leadership teams. And his work is always fiercely focused on driving actual outcomes for organizations.
Right. Actual measurable results.
So before we jump into the numbers, what does it actually mean to apply a Six Sigma black belt approach to human resources? Because usually people associate that with, manufacturing or assembly lines.
That is a great distinction to make. In manufacturing, Six Sigma is all about eliminating defects. It's about reducing variation in a process so you get consistent quality. When Ernest Goss applies that data-driven architecture to human capital, it means stripping away the emotional guesswork of HR.
Making it less of a soft science.
Exactly. It involves looking past those surface-level budget constraints and using rigorous data to identify where the operational systems are fundamentally breaking down. It's treating employee retention and performance as a precise, measurable process.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So let's apply that precise lens to the 2026 salary landscape.
Let's do it.
Based on the Salary.com budget survey, a lot of people were bracing for a bloodbath.
Oh, absolutely.
Because given the economic uncertainty, the political instability, and just the general market volatility of the past couple of years, the expectation was a dramatic pullback in raises.
Everyone thought budgets would just freeze.
But merit increases are actually holding steady at a median of 3.2%.
Right.
And some analysts are calling it a conservative and consistent approach. But does that 3.2% paint the whole picture?
It paints the macro picture, but it completely hides a very complicated micro reality.
How so?
Well, companies can't just take that 3.2% and spread it evenly like peanut butter across their entire organization anymore.
Like the old standard cost of living raise for everyone.
Right. That just doesn't work today. The industry variances are massive right now. We are actually seeing up to a 33% variance in planned increases depending on the sector you're in.
33% variance.
Yeah. For instance, energy and utilities, along with education, they are pushing up to a 4% median increase just to keep their talent.
Okay.
But if you look at media, tech, retail, and healthcare, they are pulling back to 3%.
Which brings us directly to the core issue today, The loyalty tax.
Yes, the loyalty tax.
This is that glaring value gap you experience at 8:30 a.m. when you see the new hire's paycheck. Across the board, our sources show an average 7% compensation gap between new hires and tenured staff doing the exact same work.
7% is significant.
It is. And if you happen to be in a high-demand field, like tech or finance, that gap routinely jumps to 15 to 20%.
And that gap creates a severe psychological breach for the existing
A
workforce.
psychological breach. That feels like the perfect term because it really captures the betrayal.
It is a betrayal of trust.
Yeah, you stayed loyal, you navigated the company through the pandemic, you know all the quirks of the systems, and your reward for management is, what, a pizza party in the break room on a Friday afternoon.
A pizza party, maybe a branded coffee mug.
Right. Meanwhile, a total stranger gets hired to do your exact job and is handed a $10,000 sign-on bonus. It feels like you are literally being financially punished for your loyalty.
And that feeling of punishment leads directly to the concept of the hidden bankruptcy.
The hidden bankruptcy.
Yes. This is the phenomenon that should keep organizational leaders awake at night.
So what exactly is it?
When that loyal veteran employee finally gets fed up with the pizza parties and quits, the company doesn't just pay a surface-level recruiter's fee to replace them. The hidden bankruptcy is the total loss of the organization's core DNA carriers.
DNA carriers. So we aren't just losing a warm body in a chair.
Not at all.
What exactly disappears when a DNA carrier walks out the door?
You lose the unwritten rules of the organization, and most importantly, you lose what are called shadow SOPs, or shadow standard operating procedures.
Shadow SOPs, explain that.
Think about the legacy software most companies use. The official manual might dictate one process, but the veteran employee knows that following the manual actually causes the system to crash.
Oh, right. Everyone has that one program at work.
Exactly. So they have developed a subtle workaround over the years. That workaround is a shadow SOP. It is not written down anywhere, but it is the literal only reason the department actually functions.
Wow.
When that employee leaves, that critical unwritten knowledge vanishes with them. The company loses the cultural grit that keeps things standing during tough times.
That sounds like a catastrophic risk. And the data suggests companies are dancing right on the edge of it.
They are.
The 2026 numbers reveal that 83% of workers say they would consider leaving if they identified a significant value gap between themselves and a new hire.
83%. Let that sink in.
That is a staggering majority of the workforce holding one foot out the door.
Which is exactly why relying on data-driven architecture is so vital. You have to look past the superficial excuse from leadership that says, oh, we just don't have the budget for merit increases, and see these deeper operational fractures.
Because the budget exists, it's just being spent on new people.
Precisely. If a company's compensation strategy is accidentally incentivizing its most knowledgeable people to quit, that system is fundamentally broken.
Let's play devil's advocate for a second, though.
Okay.
Let's look at the math of this gap. Specifically, the whole buying versus building talent argument. Because if I put myself in the shoes of a chief financial officer, I can actually understand the appeal of the signing bonus.
From a spreadsheet perspective, sure.
Right. It acts as a one-time surgical expense. The company needs someone in a chair right now to keep operations running. A signing bonus gets them in the door without permanently raising the long-term salary structure of the entire department.
That's the theory.
And companies clearly still rely on them. Our sources show they were featured on 3.7% of late 2024 job postings.
It is definitely a tempting shortcut for a financial officer, but the brutal math from actual outcomes tells a totally different story.
Okay, let's hear the math.
Let's look at a comprehensive analysis done on registered nurses, a classic high-demand, high-stress role.
Very high stress.
Imagine a hospital desperately needs an RN. Panic sets in, and they offer a $10,000 signing bonus to get someone fast.
Okay.
The data showed that a $10,000 bonus yielded only about $2,800 in actual measurable retention value.
Wow. Wait, so the company's taking a 70% loss on that investment right out of the gate?
A 70% loss. Companies aren't buying loyalty with those bonuses. They are essentially renting an employee for a year.
Renting them.
Yes. The data reveals that churn spikes significantly the very moment the clawback period for the bonus ends. The bonus doesn't attract the most dedicated long-term performers. It attracts the candidates most motivated by a quick infusion of cash.
And as of 2026, that renting strategy is falling apart completely anyway because the stick keeping those employees around is gone.
That's right. The legal landscape shifted.
Yeah, California Assembly Bill 692 has effectively prohibited most bonus clawbacks, what we used to call stay or pay agreements. So a company hands out the $10,000 and they have almost zero legal leverage to ensure that person actually stays for the year.
That legislative change completely disrupts the old model of just buying talent off the street.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's flip the script. We know the cost of replacing a tenured employee is anywhere from 50% to 200% of their annual salary.
It's incredibly expensive to lose good people.
So if a company takes that $10,000 signing bonus budget they were going to blow on a new hire and instead invests it internally into their existing staff, what are the actual returns?
The returns translate into a massive competitive advantage. This is where we move away from the loyalty tax and start generating what is known as a retention tax return.
A retention tax return.
Exactly. When an organization reallocates those external recruiting budgets into internal programs, specifically focusing on manager training and career development for their tenured staff, they generate a positive return on investment of between 80% and 115%.
Let's break that math down so it's crystal clear for you listening. If a company takes $10,000 and spends it on training a loyal veteran employee, they don't just get their $10,000 back.
No, they get much more.
The data shows they generate up to $21,000 in actual value for the organization. That math is undeniable compared to a 70% loss on a new hire.
It's not even a competition.
And there's another stat from our sources that will absolutely blow your mind. Companies with strong employee training programs see a 218% higher income per employee.
218%.
That is driven by a massive increase in something called discretionary effort.
Yes. Discretionary effort is arguably the most important metric we are discussing today.
What does that look like on the floor?
It means your tenured staff are choosing to work harder, and they are working smarter simply because they feel the company is actively investing in their future.
They aren't just punching a clock.
Right. They are no longer treated as a depreciating line item cost. They are treated as a valued asset. And it doesn't even take a massive time commitment to see results.
Really?
When companies provide just 75 hours of annual training per employee, they see a 5 percentage point jump in overall retention.
So we have clearly defined the problem, the hidden bankruptcies, and the undeniable math behind internal investment. Now let's explicitly focus our deep dive on the bridge to the issue, partnering for a fair exchange.
This is the turning point.
This is the crucial pivot where strategy meets reality. We have our 8:30 a.m. scenario. A veteran employee asks for a $2,000 certification course to get better at their job, and they get denied due to, quote-unquote, budget constraints.
We've all heard that excuse.
And then the very next week, a new hire walks in with the $10,000 signing bonus. So how do organizations actually bridge this disastrous gap without bankrupting themselves?
They build what is called the architect's bridge.
The architect's bridge.
Yes. To close this value gap, the employer must fundamentally shift their operational strategy. They build a dedicated professional development and training budget that is specifically aimed at veteran employees, and it's intentionally designed to offset that signing bonus gap.
So instead of a one-time cash payout that just evaporates after a year, the company is building a sustainable framework for growth.
Exactly.
How does that exchange actually work in practice?
It operates as a literal fair exchange. The employer invests heavily in the employee's long-term market value. They pay for the advanced certifications, the specialized training, the hard skills that make that employee objectively more valuable in the broader industry.
Okay, and what does the employee give back?
In return for this significant financial investment, the employee offers a retention commitment. For example, they formally agree to stay with the organization for a minimum of 12 months after receiving the certification to actively implement those newly acquired skills into the company's daily operations.
And this isn't just a nice-to-have HR initiative to make people feel good. This is a generational imperative. Pulling from the conference board transcript, they highlighted that by the end of 2025, Gen Z makes up 31% of the workforce.
Almost a third of the entire workforce.
Right, and Gen Z demands radical transparency in pay. They demand continuous career development. They want to know they are part of a purpose-driven organization that actually values their growth.
And in addition to those demands, that demographic has a distinct and highly justified fear of AI and automation replacing their roles.
Which makes sense given the trends.
It does. The conference board noted a 78% net increase in the pace of automation adoption among companies recently.
A 78% net increase in automation adoption. That means the landscape of daily work is moving at light speed, and the anxiety workers feel is entirely based on reality.
It is entirely real, and if we synthesize those data points, we realize that robust internal training is exactly how organizations alleviate that AI anxiety for their workforce.
By making them adaptable.
Exactly. Companies have to shift their entire mindset from a transactional view of hiring, where you were just buying a specific skill for a moment in time, to a long-term relational view of employee development. You have to show your workforce that as the technology evolves and automates the rote tasks, the company will ensure the human workers evolve with it.
And we should remind you, this kind of strategic alignment, moving away from desperate price-based talent wars and shifting toward value-based capability building, is the core philosophy of the Human Capital Intelligence program taught by Ernest Goss.
It really is the foundation.
It's about creating alignment between management and the employees to deliver actual sustainable outcomes.
Yes.
So what does this all mean? When we look at the ultimate outcomes of executing this fair exchange properly, where do we land? Let's focus our concluding arguments clearly here, starting with the business side.
If we focus on what the employer gains, the impact is profound. The organization gains the retention of their core DNA carriers.
The people holding the place together.
Right. They keep the exact people who actually know how to fix the invisible problems, who hold those shadow SOPs in their heads. And beyond just keeping them in the building, the employer gains a significantly upskilled workforce that is now actively applying advanced certifications and fresh knowledge to the company's specific business problems.
So it's a win-win on operations.
Absolutely. The organization has successfully transformed a massive retention risk into a compounding asset.
And on the other side, looking at what the employee gains, it is the complete restoration of your professional value. You gain the respect of being seen as a vital investment.
You're no longer just a line item.
Exactly. You finally move away from suffering under the loyalty tax, and you begin to reap a loyalty dividend, where your tenure, your grit, and your deep institutional knowledge are finally recognized and rewarded as the competitive advantage they truly are.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own.
Please do.
The global data estimates that $8.8 trillion of value is currently trapped in organizations worldwide simply due to employee disengagement.
8.8 trillion.
Trillion. At the exact same time, we know that automation and AI are rapidly taking over rote, repetitive tasks. If the machines are handling the routine work and trillions of dollars are being lost to apathy, isn't the purely human, deeply ingrained cultural grit of your tenured veterans the absolutely only true competitive moat a business has left?
Thank everyone for joining our three-part mini-series, Human Capital Intelligence series, presented by EAQ and Associates. We will continue to explore the intersection between business problems, operations, and strategy. HR architect Ernest Goss uses Six Sigma and data-driven architecture to solve complex organizational problems. We invite you to visit their website at eaqassociates.com. Join us for episode number 11. We will be discussing salary expansion versus compression in our next session. Our goal is to equip you with the tools to turn your human capital into a sustainable competitive advantage and build the bridge that sustains a viable organization while creating opportunities for its employees. We'll see you next time.